All right, everybody, welcome back to Scratch the Vinyl. It is your favorite music show, and if it isn't yet, we're going to win you over today. I know it to be true. We've got Randy Wilson, Mr. Chill. We've got DJ BJ, Big Red, Brooke Johnson, and myself, Cain Stevens, and we are here to soothe your souls with what, everybody? With music. That's right. And I have to tell you guys, just right off the bat, I mean, I can't wait to get into it, but I had a heck of a week with music where I got to go to see one of my favorite bands live, and it was just like the stars aligned. I didn't have to pay for it, which was even cooler, right? And and so we'll get into that in a little bit. But it had me thinking, had me in my feelings. And so I was looking up quotes and lyrics for this week, and I thought I'll take this quote from Neil Young, one of my other favorites. And Neil Young said, "Live music is better." I mean, just a simple forward quote. You know, Neil Young is not he can be a man of many words and a man of few, all the same. But I believe it to be true. I mean, what do you guys think about live music? What do you think about that quote in general?
I think it's spot on, man. I don't think there's anything like going to a real rock concert and feeling that bass just knock you over.
I agree with Randy and Cain. I mean, sometimes the emotions just flow. Sometimes, you might be a little more, drinking a little bit or doing your fun stuff, depending on the concert. But I would say that they by far are so much better than watching it on TV or listening, even on the radio, whatever. But just that feeling, like when I went to the Lumineers and that drum, you can feel it in your chest.
I remember when I was in junior high and I drove up with a bunch of friends and we rushed the stage to Def Leppard, Pyromania, and they had these huge fire cannons going off. Man, I thought you were going to melt, but oh my God, it was the best time ever.
You grew up in such a great time, Randy. I didn't appreciate any of those bands when I was younger. I actually crapped on all of them, just to be a jerk to all my friends' dads. Like I can remember telling one dad that, oh yeah, Van Halen and Pink Floyd and all these, they suck, and Limp Bizkit is the king of the world, and they just looked at me and basically wanted to pee down my back.
Well, you know what we used to have to do to get tickets to a show? Like there was no StubHub or Ticketmaster. Like we had to go to the mall and wait in line the night before just so you could go in to this little ticket area, and you were limited to buying 8 tickets max. But of course, tickets were like $7-8 back then. But when you're a kid, 13, 14, like I was, like you worked it out with your friends, you pooled your money together, and one guy, fortunately, I used to think my mom was really hard on me, but I look back, like she used to let me do this. Like I'd wait in line, get in there, buy my tickets, and then all my friends, and we divvied it all up, and then one of the parents then would drive us up to Omaha or wherever we'd go to see a concert and just have a blast. I mean, growing up in that time period, I saw so many great bands. It was just unbelievable. It's the one thing that music does for me, brings me back to a time period in life that was just so great.
Well, just the whole process of it, like you said, going to get the tickets. I remember going to the record store and they'd have tickets there, or trying to win them on the radio or whatever. And then driving there with your friends and, all the experiences. I remember going up to, I think it was Edge Fest in Iowa. It was in Iowa. And my Spanish teacher ended up having to come pick us up because I was with their son and some other friends, and our car broke down. So, I mean, just that process of going and getting there and the whole vibe of it and I love everything about live music.
And what's funny is as I got older, one of my best memories of live music that has to do with my kids was the time I had the opportunity to take my kids with their friends up to SoCo up in Omaha and see Bowling for Soup. And I had a little connection where I knew the band, and we got to see those guys afterwards, and they were so awesome. And took the kids back to the tour bus, got a bunch of memorabilia, signed all the autographs. Jared, the lead singer, was just such a great guy. But that's a memory I have with my kids that had to do with live music that I'll never forget.
Absolutely, man. My three boys, they're always like, Mom, I love how you used to take us to, they go to Stransky Park. We go just listen to the live music or go to the Children's Museum, and they'd have their little bands playing outside, and just opening up that doorway for my children to see what live music is. And to this day, they all love music. A little bit different genres for each one of them, but they appreciate it.
I can think of so many live things that have. I mean, I've probably been to 1,000 or more concerts. I mean, I've been to so many concerts. It was my entire life from high school on. I can recall one time where I threw up all over myself, and they had to lift me over the gate, and then I ran right back around and got back in the mosh pit after they revived me. You know, I can
I can picture that.
Oh, dude, I can remember.
What show was that? What show was that?
That was actually at So Cool as well. It was really cool because, this is kind of this is almost a Where'd the Music Take You, just talking about this for a second. But I was at Stained and POD at So Cool, and I can remember like having a hard time. We wanted to get to the front, and I can remember this girl just grabbed my hand like a stranger, and just she's just like, follow me. And like, I'm like, yeah, of course I will, and we get up there, and of course I lost her in the middle of the show, but little did she know I had 4 burritos before then. And so then I ended up throwing up all over myself, but that was like a memorable part of the show. And then I've got some memorable moments for the show that I mentioned that we're going to talk about later too, that just happened. But man, that's the beauty of live music, is that something always happens like that, right? It's not just showing up and ho hum, I guess I'm gonna see another great band. It's like you always have these moments, and it kind of makes you it actually enhances how much you love the bands. It really does.
Well, you did touch on something there that I'd like to point out. Things have changed over time. You used to be able to you just buy a general admission ticket, and you, like you said, you'd rush to the stage or as close as you could get. And that's kind of how it was. The people that didn't really want to do that, they would go sit up in the seats. And now almost everything is ticket seating now. And so there is a little that goes away. But I still encourage everybody to go see a real rock show where you get up off your feet, get in with the crowd. I tell people all the time, if you get a chance to go see the Foo Fighters, it's one of the best still live shows that you can, still be on the floor and rock out with the band. But still supporting local live music like that, that's how it used to be all the time.
Talking about Sokol, though, real quick, you all have a memory with that? I went to see P-Funk. You're talking about how back in the day you could do about anything. Man, when George was up there, everybody, we're all, and you could barely see him. There was so much smoke.
So much smoke.
I was just got like a high just being there. it was
I'm sure you were.
And then I went and saw Everclear there once too. And in the bathroom in the back, do you remember when it was on the back and even the musicians had to use it? I was coming out and my friend that I was with looked like the lead singer. And he's coming out. I go, hey, Dave, we got to go. Oh, it's starting. And it was actually the singer. And I didn't know that because he starts walking up to the stage. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm getting ready to perform. It's like, and then here come my friend Dave. I was like, you have no idea what I just did. So cool.
There's
That's
Brooke. There's
place.
Brooke with her concert shirt on with this picture, and he doesn't even know he's the lead singer.
It must have been the remnants of the P-Funk pot, maybe.
Whoops.
From weeks. Yeah, it's still there.
Where's the chicken? Whoop, whoop.
I didn't mean to say that. I meant like the plants.
I took my first puff and only puff of a cigarette at a show, and they were passing something around, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's about to go down. And I thought it was something else, and I took it, and I start coughing and sputtering. I'm like, what in the hell is this? It was like, you get it all at a live show.
I think that's my experience too. Who in the hell would do that? As
did you guys have any lyrics or quotes that you thought of that would that either correlate or not to this?
Yeah, actually, his name's Jim James. He's a vocalist. He said that I think that live music is something that the internet can never kill, and I agree with that 100%. There can't. You gotta be there, like live. Even the internet can't fix that one.
Well, in today's music where they digitally remaster everything,
Mm.
man, there's still nothing like that live feel.
So do you guys think that like certain genres like are but like do you like to watch like the show where there's all these bells and whistles, or like somebody sitting there with the guitar and they're just jamming? Does it just depend on the musician? Or because I know I've seen a few where I thought, oh wow, it's gonna be amazing, and then it was kind of like and then you go to someone else, you're like, holy cow, like this is crazy, like everything about it.
Well, I could tell you, growing up as a kid, the first time I ever saw Kiss live with the cannons blowing up and the fire and spitting blood, I thought that was just unbelievable. But just as much as I saw, it'll come to
Like
me.
Neil Young, like you said, like
Wasn't Neil Young?
Bob Dylan,
No, Running on Empty.
Jackson Brown.
Jackson Brown. Thank you. Yes, I saw one of my favorite shows was seeing Jackson Brown live at the Orpheum acoustic show. First off, the venue is perfect for that. But I love Jackson Brown's music. All the way back from Running on Empty and Lawyers in Love. I saw him. I saw him in concert several times. But this show at the Orpheum, where it was just that theater with just an acoustic guitar. Oh my God. I mean, it's transcending.
It is, and you do get so many different things from. I think you said something great, Brooke. It is hard when you go to a show and you're expecting this band, especially like big rock bands, to jump around and be lively, and they're just a bunch of stiffs up there. From a musician standpoint, I to be honest with you, I don't even get that, right? I mean, I don't know what's going on in their lives that they're not jumping around, but like I know when I performed, it didn't matter if my life was falling apart. Anything. As soon as I went to the show, I was rolling around on the floor. I was doing anything I could to entertain anywhere from one to however many people were there. I didn't really care. It was a paid show, and I was going to give the venue what they wanted. So I never understand that from my standpoint.
Some of the musicians that I know, they say the same thing. I mean, the good musicians. I remember one of them saying, I had the flu, or he had the flu, and he goes, I didn't care. The show has to go on. Like he goes, and he had a little bucket that he just, would puke, and then he'd keep going. But he performs like it was his last performance, and he would say it every time he would get on stage. This could be my last time. So he gave everything he had for it, and that's what makes a great musician. And Cain, I think that I would have loved to come see you. Can we maybe schedule something? Maybe.
You said last performance, you're absolutely right. And eventually one of them was my last live performance. I just, my body can't hold out for it anymore with, some of the issues that I have. So my live playing days are over. So now all I have are these crazy memories of all this stupid drunken beer Olympics stuff that I did all those years.
Well, and that's like a transition, like what you're saying. Beer Olympics. Anyway,
Well, Cain's a studio guy now.
That's right. Well, and that's the thing. You move on to do those things, but I think also different musicians, like why they transition into different kinds of music. Because sometimes, when you're young, you're gonna, rock the show. And you're jumping around, and then now you're gonna do more of like a sit down kind of thing and do acoustic. And I mean, it does change, and I think that's what I love, the evolution of music for even different. Like we were talking about musicians last week about how they go from this genre to this genre, and you never know why. Maybe they're doing it, and maybe they had too many beer fests or whatever.
I watched that Billie Eilish special that she did of her first tour, where she her legs wouldn't hold up, but she felt so bad because she wanted to give to the fans everything she had, and she was in constant pain and had doctors, and it was just it. They showed the backstage of that where she would lash out at her mom. She'd be crying. She wanting to quit, but wouldn't quit. I mean, that's there was you become a superstar, and you basically give your body to the show all the time. And they started working on different scenes where they showed the one show where she couldn't do it, so she sat down on the stage and still gave the performance, but she couldn't jump around and bounce around. But my understanding is she's rehabbed a lot to get back to where she's going to go back out on tour and be in better shape this time.
I've heard a lot of musicians go through that, even like vocally, like their voices or their bodies, or even, personal things, and having to kind of move the show a different way. But that's what performers do. You go with the flow in a sense, and when you're really good at something, no matter what your job is, you make it look easy. And that's why I think a lot of people, when they start to do something and they think this is not that easy. So when you get the greatest of the greats out there, like you, Randy, with your karaoke, and like,
hey, this is where I get to pull a Journey reference on Brooke again. How she loves this, that Cain. She loves the Journey.
She loves it.
I love Journey. I love the Journey.
But when Arnel Pernetta did his first show as the front man for Journey, post Steve Perry, all of a sudden, this concept of belting out those high power ballads every night soon caught up with him really quick. And they had to explain to him that he had to start, doing all these things and teas and elixirs and stuff to keep his vocal cords healthy. And Neil Schoen talked about how they let him run around, jump around the first couple of times, but they knew what the toll would be, what it meant to perform as much as they do, as much as they're on the road, and just trying to achieve that excellence with those high power ballads night after night.
Well, his new album's out. I know you can like him, hate him, whatever, but he's 59 years old. He's been doing this forever, and people are kind of like they're, his voice is different. Well, yeah, he's 59, like he's been doing this a while. And I think he sounds beautiful. He was on the Howard Stern show, and Howard was just ecstatic. He's like, oh, play this and play that. And he sounded a little different, and the vocals were a little different, but man, most musicians could not do that for singing that many years. It's like a NFL player, they're 5 years, as much as they're probably going to last. If you go beyond that, I mean, it is hard on your voice, your body. And I know he has a lot of trainers. I know he has all of these beautiful things to help him, but really it's anything could happen. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful, album that he has. And I love his voice, and I am in awe of it.
Yeah, I don't think they used to do that back in the early rock days. So I think they've learned a lot over time. That is so true, Brooke.
Well, and I don't know how heavy metal vocalists do it, because I've been in some super almost death metal like bands when I was younger, and I was a singer, and you'd have to growl and scream and everything. And by the end of the show, like I would be in a whisper, and not on purpose. Like my voice just was shot. And so now, as like an older vocalist, I don't have near the range that I used to have. So I do understand to a smaller extent, but like up to what they're going through. And now I can't hit those high notes, so I have to find other notes that work with it. So, the true greats like Steve Perry, like all of these guys, they find a way to mold to what their voice is. They're never going to be the people that they were hitting the highest notes in the world. But you know what? They were like on top of their game then, and they're still on top of their game now. So they're obviously doing something right. All right, so we do have some wonderful sponsors on the show. They're not necessarily keeping all of our lights on, but they are supporting the show. We've got some amazing businesses here in Lincoln. We've got Roots Music Shop. Roots Music Shop, you can buy any instrument in the world. you know, that if they have it, right? And they also work on instruments. So go see Ryan at Roots Music Shop. We also have, for you, I know Randy's getting ready to get a nice dolphin tattoo, I think, on maybe on his like lower back or something. And if you want that, you can get it at, at Sly Ink Tattoo with Bryce. Bryce is the best in the business. Stop going to Becky's Boring Ink Emporium and get there and see Bryce. Schedule with him. And we also, did you know this, guys? We have we have a sponsor who's a world class guitar player. He's also in a extremely popular rock band in the area and in the region. And he just happens to do some pretty dang good concrete. We have Liberty Contracting. Stan Liberty is the guy that I'm mentioning, and he's in Pasty Jenny. If you haven't seen those guys, he's the lead guitar player, and Stan rips on guitar, man. And he's also very good at what he does in concrete. So as I mentioned earlier, everybody, the stars, I'm going to tell you the story now. The stars aligned not too long ago. A few weeks ago, I believe, I mentioned that one of my favorite bands is going to be playing in the area, Greta Van Fleet. And we did a whole show about it, and you guys should probably go back and check that out. But one major thing that I said, and I put it out there, I said, I want somebody to shower me with free tickets to this show. And I'll be darned if the ticket fairy didn't show up in my house. The stork with tickets is in his mouth, and I got tickets to go see Greta Van Fleet. And so it started out great. I mean, one, I got to talk to a couple of my heroes, local radio heroes, right before the show because it was a Blaze concert. I got to talk to the Animal, and I got to talk to Sparky, and just kind of give them their roses and tell them how great they've been to, for me, as somebody who's always loved radio, and how much I miss, the Animals show in the morning. So that was cool. And then I got to, right off the bat, as soon as I got to Pinnacle Bank Arena, they upgraded our seats for whatever reason. So it was like, so we had that going for us. So pretty soon we're down there in the fifth row, a great spot, sitting in the seats, a couple tall beers in our hands. Me and this stranger, this guy, and I have no idea how. I think Brooke knows him. Brooke, we don't have to mention that guy in case he doesn't want to be talked about or anything. But how do you know this guy briefly?
He's just a really good friend of mine. I met him a couple of years ago. He came into the bar quite a bit, and then we knew some friends that knew each other, but he's a really, really good guy. And he had some tickets, and he asked me to go, and I couldn't go. And I said, I know somebody that would love to go. And so you wanted a date. I love it.
So I went on a date with the stranger, a male stranger. This is why, like we talked about earlier, live music is so great. I'm that type of guy. If somebody offers me tickets, it doesn't matter what's going on. I'm going to go. But I think it would have been awkward if it was a female, like to try to explain to my wife, like, I'm going to go on this really cool concert, and I'm going to hang out with this stranger who's a chick. And she's like, yeah, you're just going on a date, aren't you?
Yeah, she's this really young, hot, I don't know, model. It's fine. It's fine. No.
What happens at live shows stays at live shows.
Yeah, that's right. Tell my wife that. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh my God. I think that should be a quote.
Yeah, she doesn't mind when he hangs out with me, but
I just tell her the guy or the person I'm with looked like Danny Trejo the whole time. It doesn't matter if it's a guy or a woman. And then she's like, oh, okay, well, at least I'm better looking than them.
Well, tell us a little bit about the show, man. I heard it was an unbelievable show.
It honestly was. When I went to this show, I experienced so many things. But the thing that I experienced the most was this had to be the closest thing to what it would have been like to see a band like, and I hate to mention them because they're kind of in the same vein as that, but like Led Zeppelin. It was that style show. I mean, the guitar solos were highlighted. There was pyro. There were amazing visuals. They had multiple stages, so they had a smaller stage set up on the other side of the arena so that they could do a more intimate thing around some of the people who were in the seats. And I mean, it was just, I'm going to be honest with you. And I don't mean to, because I love Smashing Pumpkins so much they were my number one, but I think Greta Van Fleet just ousted them for the number one performance I've ever seen, to be honest with you.
Wow. You guys heard it right here. That if you guys ever followed Cain in the past, you'd know that is a bold statement.
It is. This is an exclusive here. I can't even believe I said it out loud, but the whole time I know Billy's going to call me.
I know Billy Corrigan right now is just cringing.
He is. He's going
to write a new song. He's going to write a new song just for you over this. I can tell you right now.
It's going to be a really sad song.
Oh man, poor Billy. But Billy's not going to call me. But if he would say, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage, Cain. And he would get pretty angry with me for a second. But if he had seen this performance, I mean, for one, the Kiska brothers, they have to go down as the best trio of family. I mean, since what? Hanson? Come on, guys. I mean, the best. They're unbelievable. They literally would blow the pants off of Hanson.
My sister just hung out with the Hanson brothers. I mean, I think they're doing good.
Brooke, that's a code word for they're your favorite band. So
okay, you got me.
By her sister,
my sister hung out with them.
Sister.
She kisses the Hanson poster on her wall every night.
Hanson posters.
That's awesome, man. Greta Van Fleet. Like you said, we've been talking about them for a while, and they. I'm happy that you finally got to experience it. That's great.
I am gonna let you guys know something though. Something real happened there, and this happened to me before it shows. I wasn't on the medication that makes me go from time to time at that time, but I found out that I basically have the bladder of like a 90-year-old. And so as I'm pounding these massive, $40 beers, I had to pee, but I would not get up because I refused to get up in the middle of it, you know what I mean? And so I did it once again, everybody. I made this thought in my head that I'm just going to pee my pants and no one's going to notice. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about a live show is you have to make that choice. Do I want to see the next song or do I want to get up and blow it, by going up there and taking all that time when you could just pee your pants? So I figured
it's kind of like watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's like a movie.
You feel like it's almost over. And you got to go, but you don't want to miss. Yet there's another hour and a half left.
That might be the deadliest trick in all of the world is I think from now on when I go to shows, I am going to wear an adult diaper. I'm going to be okay with it. I'll make sure to like spray a bunch of cologne around me beforehand so that it kind of like soaks in the pee smell. And that's going to be what I do from here on out.
You're just going to smell like a dirty hotel, but that's fine. That's what everybody smells like. And you know what? Maybe we need a sponsor from Depends. Depends if I'm going to leave or not. Hey, we got another one.
Well, we don't. Let's be honest. We don't have them, but we would like them, right? Well,
we need it. I said we need to.
Oh, okay.
We'll get a hold of those guys because
I don't want their team of lawyers.
Yeah, our live. Well, you have live concerts, you have movies, you have driving to a concert that's maybe 8 hours away. You got to wear some adult diapers. Yeah. I'm gonna call them later.
Then the last thing I witnessed there. Okay, there were two girls in front of me, and they were dressed. There were a lot of girls dressed like kind of like hippies. You know what I mean? They had that whole '70s vibe thing, so it even enhanced it more to me. Like they're wearing like the denim jumpsuits and all this stuff. You know what I mean? The bell bottoms were flowing, but these girls were probably I would say right out of high school. And these girls are what I hope that my girls become. I mean, truly, I thought to myself the whole time, and this is, I want to say, and I was observing them as a non-pervert, okay, because I'm bad. Yeah. But I was watching that, and these girls knew every lyric to every song. They were screaming it. They were just, you could tell that this was the best night of their life, and that is what really clicked to me. Is I thought to myself when if I pass anything to my kids more than just musical talent and stuff, I hope I pass to them the love of live music and that there's nothing better in that moment. It doesn't matter what your life is like. okay, you're going to get the best night of your life no matter what. Just go to live shows. And that's what these girls reminded me of, is how much I love live music. I wish you guys could have seen them. They were adorable in a non-pervy way. It was just hilarious to hear them singing these songs and playing air guitar to all the solos. These girls were living their best lives.
And I get it when you watch kids that are younger, because I have 3 boys, and you're watching these children just enjoy and absorb all of that live music, and you just hope, like you said, hope my kids turn out this way, and just to appreciate live
Well,
music.
when they said rock and roll is dead, well, maybe it's not.
It's definitely not. If you were at this show, you would feel just like what you talking about the Foo Fighters. Yeah, this is when you realize that rock never died. Rock is still very much alive, and it's never going to die when you see shows like this, because there's just those bands that will continue to transcend the whole genre. And even though they roll back and they might sound similar to this style of band or that style of band, what's wrong with that? I mean I don't see anything wrong with it at all.
I agree with you, Cain. I think that you have to find your inspiration somewhere,
Ironically, I just hung out with one of my buddies, lead singer of the Loon band I used to follow back in the 90s. And we were talking, and it just brought me back to a time period where just what you're talking about. I mean, just going to see live shows was just one of the best things to do. And give me your take on this. I see a lot of these places have went to, free cover just to get people in. But I think there's a part of that cheapened things out. I used to charge, 10, 20 bucks 20, 25 years ago to come to my venue to see bands. And people used to say, oh, that's a lot. But you know what? I never struggled to fill it. And it was always to me, the true fans were the ones that then would show up. It wasn't just, oh, well, it's free, so it's something to do. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
My opinion is sometimes if you charge, you're doing it to pay the band, because you want them to. I mean, it takes time and energy, and that band needs to be paid. They don't need to say, oh, it's for, this amount of money, and I don't feel like, you're giving me what we're worth. So, but to charge somebody to come to the door, sometimes there's people that will come in that never would have in the beginning, and then they see you and they're like, oh my gosh, I love these people. So, I mean, I think it depends. I mean, I think free shows every once in a while is great because it brings a lot more people in. I think charging for certain reasons, yes, because you got to make money too. I mean, it is a business, but I don't think that it undermines their talent. I think sometimes it's more of a tactic of getting people in, though, to see it.
You'd never cheapen out the show.
Right. But I think
charge. Look, you can give free tickets away to people you want to give free tickets away to. As soon as you start that ball rolling to make people think it should always be free, I think it hurts the industry.
You want. I mean, I really do. I really think though that sometimes a free show is great. Like when I took because when I had my children, I wasn't that well off. I didn't have a lot of money. And when I took my kids to like Stransky Park for their live concerts, that was something for us to do as a family. And I never would have been able to do that if it was cost so much money, So free concerts sometimes are great. I mean, you don't have to do it all the time, but I think that it does open up that door to people that may or may not have gone in the first place.
Well, Randy's
thinking.
Randy, you've got a different perspective because you were a bar owner, and a guy who also put people in that spotlight. You were the one bringing in the shows and all that. So I see yours. I'm going to give you guys as a guy who's been a paid musician for a long time. I'm going to give you this perspective. There's one perspective is sometimes, especially the cover band scene, for example, is great, right? I was in cover bands for years. It's fun. It kind of cheapens it for the bands like the original bands, because then these owners start to expect a certain thing, because like I can tell you from my experience, we played every weekend. We played Friday, we played Saturday somewhere. But when you play multiple venues in the area, not everyone's going to follow that band, right? Because they saw them last week, and you're basically playing roughly the same set. So it's not like they're seeing us in Milwaukee. We're not the Grateful Dead. You know, they're not following us from town to town. Some people did, but it's hard because, I mean, I was in a 5-piece. I always liked 5-piece bands. Well, a lot of owners would try to give us like $300 or less as a 5-piece band for for 4 sets, right? Which is 10 to 12 songs in those sets. So think about how many songs and how much entertainment you're getting that night, and then they get mad at you over they nickel and dime you over this, and I see it from both sides, right? But then I look at the original bands and what they're doing. A lot of them do charge covers, but then they're, you know, as long as you have an honest doorman, right, that isn't pocketing the money, and you have an honest owner, I think that it's always going to come out square in the end. I can definitely see it from both sides. As a cover band, it's very hard, and I know a lot of you guys out there who are listening, who are original band members, you're instantly scoffing. Oh, what is this schlub know? Because he was in cover bands, and but it was still a business, and we still played the region, right? And we still played all over. We played probably as much as you guys were, or maybe possibly a lot more. And but we were just playing other people's songs, and we were mixing in originals. That's what a lot of bands do, is they like to get their originals snuck in there, get people used to how they play, and then, oh, and how about this one by us? So
All right. And well, I think though, charging people at the door, I think that's more of a business thing for the bar owner. You know, it's not necessarily for the customers saying, or the patrons coming in saying, oh, it's free, so it must suck. No, it's saying, hey, I appreciate this band and I want to pay them. So it's more of a bar owner band correlation that we're you know, you need, because I know a lot of musicians that say, this is how much that we charge. We charge $1,200, and anything after that, you know, that's yours. But this is so sometimes you do have to charge at the door, and people need to realize that there's not a charge because they just, you know, because they're paying this band that they work their butts off. I mean, it's hours of practice. There's instruments. I mean, Cain, the things that you have to go through, and $200, come on. Like, you know, that's between the bar owner and the musician. But I think sometimes the fans, the customers, the patrons, when there is a free show, you're going to get people there that wouldn't be there in the first place. And you have more fans now. They create more fans. And you know, it just depends on what you're charging it for at a local, like I'm thinking locally. I'm not thinking like, you know, we're going to go to the amphitheater and it's going to be free show. I'm thinking, like, you know, just for, you know, local live music. Sometimes free is good. Like I said, growing up with my children, having them and having a free show here and there was awesome. And then I would pay money to go see these other people. You know, I would pay a lot eventually. You know, I think it's just the opportunity. I think it's just the time, opportunity, what it is, the bands, what you have to give them. But yeah, sometimes a free show is awesome. You think of like Nirvana, they just come in and play, and you're like, oh, here you go. We're at Duffy's or wherever they, you know, and I don't know. I think it opens up a world.
Well, I'll bring up something locally that we have here, which I think is great. We have something called the Lincoln Calling, which is all the local bands in the area that opt in, and there are several venues in town, and you can buy a ticket, one price ticket, and go see all the shows. So if you can't go on a certain night, you go on the other night, or if you want to go to one venue and see one band, you can run over to the other venue, see the other band. I think that's awesome for it. And I think they're very reasonably priced to see a lot of live entertainment here in town. I just think that's a great way to do it.
They're able to go to multiple. The cool part that is they get to go to multiple venues and multiple areas of Lincoln to see these bands too. So there's a main stage, you know, a big main stage, and then there's all these other venues downtown that people can go to see people at different times. So yeah, it's an amazing thing, and you're not going to get your money you're not going to regret, I should say. Like, I mean, don't spend your last rent money on it. I guess if
No,
you're,
I would.
well, Brooke would, but
Yeah, I would.
Well, I think for our listeners, I think we're going to try to get some. We're going to get some people, some local musicians that participate in the Lincoln Calling. We're going to get some interviews with them here very soon.
absolutely. Well, I didn't know the conversation was. I really love this because this is what I like about podcasting anyway. Right? Is we went from our love of live music and we kind of went to the business side of it for a second, right? And that's why I like talking to Brooke, because Brooke has her perspective. You know, she works in bars and she knows these musicians and she's been around Randy as a bar owner and a guy who brought in entertainment, and myself as a paid musician. We all have our thoughts on it, but it all kind of came together. And you know, the last thing I'm going to say about it is, though, for you bar owners out there, this is something that no band likes to hear, and I'm going to speak up for you guys right now, musicians. Is, well, I want you to come play for exposure. No, thank you. No,
It's like saying you guys have a great personality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. That we wouldn't date you, you know, and we wouldn't bring you around mom and dad, but we definitely think you have a nice personality. You're an okay guy.
Yeah, we're not gonna put any pictures on social media with you, but you know what? We're gonna go ahead and not pay anything either.
You know, I had so much fun during a certain time period where I had that opportunity to follow certain local bands, and we would support them. And, you know, may not go every week, but, you know, once a month or every other month. But it's something like we look forward to. Like, you know, when you build a little fan base locally that really loves what you do, man, I can't imagine how that feels.
You do. You have a fan base.
I get it.
Come
I
on,
get it.
Randy. You
But
do.
you know, man, I'd
You-
love to
I
see what it
watch
was like
people-
in Cain's shoes when he's up there staring out, even if it was just 100 people, you know, that are really digging what you do.
I did it for one, man. I mean, there were shows where literally just for whatever, like we'd go to a different town and they'd be like, oh, the Johnsons had a wedding. So the whole town's there. And we still had to perform to like the one barfly guy. But you know what, to me, once again, kids, if you're listening out there and you need a lesson, Uncle Cain will give you a lesson here. Get your butts out there and play a great show for the bar. Give the people what they want, even when there are no people.
Wow, that sounds great. I think that's another wrap on Scratch the Vinyl, guys.
I think so. It's been great talking to you guys again. This is my favorite part of the week. I'm not going to lie, and I know for the listeners out there, it's your favorite part of the week now. And we want to thank you guys for listening. If you guys want to email us, or if you want to be on the show, make sure you email scratchthevинylpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, we had Big Red up in here. Brooks, say goodbye.
Peace.
Randy, Mr. Chill Wilson, the man, hey, the guy who, I'm just going to say this before we go, the karaoke guy who has the following of a band, Randy Wilson. All right, this guy has it. Say goodbye to everybody, Randy.
Well, keep listening out there, guys. We appreciate you guys.
We love you so much.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you again next time.
Scratch the vinyl. Yeah.